in Tucson, Arizona, on a golf course at night. These kids were walking around the golf course at night, and this wolf came out of the tree, the trees, and terrified them. And the thing that gives this some credence to me is a friend of mine, and I trust this guy. I've known him for years, and I know he wouldn't have made a story up and tried to push it over on me. But he and a friend were going to a cemetery in central Missouri, and they've been there a number of times. It's a local cemetery. It's on a rural highway, or off a rural highway, on a dirt road that goes up and down a few hills and in woods. And the cemetery is up on a hill. And they go there because they've mapped the cemetery out before a number of times, and sometimes when they go back, certain headstones and trees are in different places than they were other times when they've been there. So they like to go and, map it out. And one night after they did that, they decided, nothing's going on. We're going to go home. And it was about 10, 11 o'clock at night. And they said it was a clear moonlit night. And they went down and up a couple of the hills. And at the bottom of this other one, there was a dog. And they had the windows rolled down of the pickup, and they could smell wet dog coming in through the window. And they stopped about 20 feet from it, and the headlights were on this thing, and it was eating something in the middle of the dirt road.
Oh boy!
But it wasn't moving. And finally, the driver honked the horn, and the thing turned and looked at them, and its eyes were glowing red in the headlights, not red, but yellow in the headlights. And then, without taking its eyes off of them, it stood up on its hind legs, and it turned toward the road, or turned toward the side of the road, and staring at them, walked into the trees and disappeared.
On two
walking
legs.
On its hind legs.
On two legs. Ooh.
Yeah.
Hey, we got
They got the hell out of there.
I would too. Hey, we got a caller. A caller, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. How you doing, Gary? It's James.
Hi, James. How you doing tonight?
Pretty good. Pretty good. How you doing, Jason?
Hey, James, I'm doing great. Yourself?
Not bad. Hey, it's funny. I was going to ask you about the Beast of Bray Road, but I had a couple other questions. What's your thoughts on the Rougarou down in Louisiana?
Well, it's and this is one of the things that I pieced together when I was doing the book is that people when they moved over here, when they immigrated to the United States, they didn't just bring heirlooms and, food to survive the boat ride and pictures or whatnot. They brought their monsters with them. They brought legends with them. There are stories of banshees where, Irish people settled there. And the loup-garou is, which is werewolf in French, where the French settled in Louisiana. Their werewolf was there. It would appear as potentially a beggar sometimes that was on the outskirts of town, or a big handsome man, and they would try to lure people someplace, where it would turn into a wolf and destroy them. Why not? I mean, there are similar stories in Quebec where the French settled. I really think that when people moved here, they did definitely bring their monsters with them, and that's one of them.
Right. And what's your thoughts on the Montauk monster and Plum Island and all that kind of stuff there?
Well, the Montauk, the monster. You mean the corpse that was found?
Yeah.
On the beach. Yeah. I mean, the authorities said that it was probably a pig.
A pig.
It had claws. It was not a pig. Yeah, I'm not sure what that was. It didn't look like anything that I'd ever seen. And Montauk's a weird place. Of course, it's the home to mind control, alleged mind control experiments and time travel experiments. And no, it was used as the basis of the TV show Stranger Things. That's where they got their ideas.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Wow. All right. Well, thank you very much, Jason. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for calling. Have a good night.
Hey, James, thank you for calling in.
Gary. Have a great night.
Okay, take care, sir. Yeah, well, that was kind of interesting. So
yeah, it was good questions. Yeah, the Loup Garou is where people settle, their monsters come. I mean, we've got the the snallygaster on the in New England, and when that's a monster from Germany. So when German settlers came, they brought that with them too.
Now, what was that monster like?
It was it was a dragon-esque type monster, lizard skin, bat-like wings, except for it only had one eye in its head, like tentacles for a mouth, and it had horrible breath and would fly around and screech and steal children and small people. Yeah,
in other words, you didn't want to be short.
No.
Bad joke.
Big always helps.
Yeah. Well, one of them wouldn't be able to lift me up. But that's what, you think about it, even like hawks and stuff, little kids, babies, they can come down and pick one and just take off with it, like little dogs and stuff like that. So, yeah, just think of a creature a lot bigger than that. I
know. Have you ever been anywhere close to a bald eagle?
I had
those things.
I had a bald eagle, almost one of the dogs I had in our backyard. There was eagles on our area over here, and a couple times it swooped down, and if I wouldn't have got my dog as fast as I did, it was a toy poodle, it would have been its dinner.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we all know what the bald eagle looks like, but I don't think a lot of people know how enormous they are. They're huge birds. And there are birds that are bigger than the eagle. Well, we've got of course, the condor, the California condor, but there are birds that are allegedly bigger than that. There's Native American legends from all across the United States of a thunderbird, which is a bird that's got 20+ foot wingspan, and it looks kind of condor-esque, but it's enormous, and the description sounds like a teratorn, which is a bird of prey from the the Pleistocene during the Ice Age, and people have reported seeing those in modern times. And one of the reports from, I think it was Pennsylvania, somewhere in that area, was of a 12-year-old boy who was playing out in his yard, and one of these huge birds came down and grabbed it by his shoulders. And took off. And if it wasn't for the kid's shirt ripping and him falling to the ground, he would have been eaten by the thing.
Yeah,
one of the more recent ones, not that many years ago, it was 5 maybe, there was a pilot of a small plane in Alaska, thought another plane was approaching him, and he looked over, and out the window of the cockpit was a bird the same size of his airplane.
No.
And it eventually flew off. And, just like we were talking about, maybe living dinosaurs, we might still have some creatures from, the Ice Age still hanging around.
Or as the Ice Age starts disappearing in Antarctica, who knows what might, surface. You never know. I mean, scientists, a lot of things.
That terrifies me because there's already a long, hibernating anthrax virus or bacteria from Russia that is coming through the permafrost because it's melting.
Oh, yeah, that's what's really scary. And you think we have no antibodies to protect ourselves against some things that might be appearing at any time now. Because, the people who, and I don't want to get into about global warming, but something is going on. Antarctica is melting way faster than they ever thought it would be. And at this rate, it's on a daily basis, something is breaking off or being exposed. It's so scary. You go up to Mount Everest, they're finding bodies of people 200 years old, popping out of the ice, right, because it's all melting. It's scary. One thing I was going to say. Go ahead.
I mean, as much as I want to see, what's underneath the ice of Antarctica, I really don't want to see what that would bring us.
Well, I think it would bring us a whole bunch of stuff that none of our medicine would, our technology, we would be able to counteract it. That's the scary part. We're talking about maybe life-ending diseases and stuff like that. Microbes that could cause infections that no antibiotics that we know of will do anything to stop it.
Well, and that's the basis of one of my all-time favorite books, I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. It came out in the early 50s, that deforestation, the rainforest, as it was being cut down and earth was tilled, to plant crops, that they disturbed an ancient virus that ended up, turning most of the population into vampires, and that wrecked the world.
Well,
and that was something that came out in the 50s, so yeah. Yeah, he was ahead of his time.
Oh, yeah. And one thing I've noticed with our magnetic field changing and with the earth changes that's going on, animals are migrating, especially different type of birds, pelicans, you name them. People are starting to see these birds in areas that they have never been in before because, the magnetic field, all that stuff throws them off. They're going where, the weather is more favorable for them. So, people are starting to see these huge birds flying, and they kind of mix them up with, other type of creatures, too.
Right. Well, and that's, not just in the air and over land. There have been so many types of sea life that has been seen farther north than it's ever been. So it's, I don't want to turn this into a global warming discussion either, but we're going to start seeing animals and maybe creatures that we don't know about that are popping up, in places we don't expect.
Well, I hate to say it, because of the meltdown in Japan of their nuclears, their reactors, a lot of that kind of, radioactive is in the ocean. They're even finding it in salmon here on the West Coast in California, that the fish are, their radiation level is way up. Japan is talking about, because they're running out of what they're going to do with all this contaminated water. And they're very close to dumping it into the Pacific Ocean. And we're talking massive radiation here. If they do that, I'm wondering what other creatures might all of a sudden start popping up as they either die off or whatever, migrate into something else.
Well, maybe like the three-eyed python that was found recently in Australia.
That sure was interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, you talk about staring something straight on. There it is.
Right. I mean, we've had that for years. I mean, not just with that python, but before. I mean, with frogs with multiple eyes and multiple limbs that have been mutated from pollution. There's all sorts of problems that we've been causing our planet. And we might get new species of monsters, or maybe some old ones will pop up just because, we're awful.
Yeah, well, you don't know. I mean, it might be one day here, 20 years from now, all of a sudden somebody's out there fishing, and instead of this octopus being the normal size, it's like, like back in the 1700s and 1800s, the whalers would go out there and claim that, this octopus or a squid was bigger than their ship, and, grabbed the ship and sunk it down. There's all those stories that was floating around back then.
Well, and again, this is a lot like I was talking about science, Western science ignoring the native populations. I mean, what if this was actually happening to them? I think one of my favorite stories has to do with the Billy ape. That's B-I-L-I, and it's in the the Republic of the Congo. That the locals for years and years have been talking about this enormous ape that generally walks on two legs and acts like a gorilla, but it's not. It howls at the moon, and it kills and eats lions. And of course, Westerners are like, yeah, that's a cute story. That's not possible, but it's cute. And it wasn't until 1998 when Western science discovered, hey, the local people were right. Here is this population of chimpanzees that generally walks on their hind legs. They're enormous chimpanzees.